This episode of Locked on Buffs, it's also brought to you by our sponsors over at DoorDash. Let's talk about who delivered. Tough week for the Buffs. I will admit, but it's almost the weekend. It's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on who delivered. Powered by DoorDash. Just like when you can win every Saturday with DoorDash streaks, saving more every time you order, these player delivers when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For Colorado, I'm going with Tafiq Bayard. He delivered in a big way, although it was a tough day for the defense. Made a lot of big plays, got a shout out from Coach Prime, led the team in tackles. If you've been watching week after week, you could sort of tell that he was trending towards a breakout game. And I think, although it was a loss, the Houston game was his breakout game. And just like Tafiq Bayard delivered for the Buffs, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash streaks, you save every Saturday. Your order, stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. So do me a favor, like, subscribe, follow, all that jazz. Let's talk quarterbacks. The quarterback situation has been, I think, mishandled. I'll put it out there. I know a lot of people are going to be like, you called for Ryan Staub to start. And I said, yes, I did, because that's the way the system was working, right? I could tell it was an open quarterback situation. I would say it then, and I'd said it now, or I'll say it now, and I said it then. If you're going to play three quarterbacks against Delaware with the hope of with the hope of finding a starting quarterback, you don't just sort of, I don't know, just be like, oh, Ryan Staub played the best, but we didn't plan on starting him, so we're not going to start him, right? Ryan Staub, everyone was gravitating towards Ryan Staub. Coach Prime was, the players were. It was obvious that he had sort of won the locker room, right? You can't just see that happen and then be like, ooh, so we're actually not going to go with you. So they had to go with Ryan Staub based on the scenario that they put themselves in, but I don't think they should have ever been in that scenario, because I think Caden Salter probably should have started the first 4 games and got to play the first 4 games entirely. I think if Caden Salter starts against Houston, I think they probably win. I think if he plays the entire Delaware game, he would have found his confidence. And now Wyoming is for whoever's playing quarterback for the rest of the season, because this has to be the last of this, unless there's injuries or something goes catastrophically wrong. If you're Colorado, you really need your quarterback to find it against Wyoming. And Wyoming's not terrible. They're not like the best team, but they're not terrible. They have a stout defense. So really interesting quarterback situation. Coach Prime, after the game, said Ryan Staub didn't play his best. That was not what he was expecting to see from him, not what he was hoping to see from him. And Ryan Staub, I think he just looked uncomfortable at times, and he was forcing things, and the offense, I think the play calling hurt. I think it was just a mixture of bad play calling, bad performance, and when you have both of those, it's hard to sort of overcome them. So no quarterback has been named. Coach Prime said on Tuesday, I know what I'm doing. I'm not going to tell you guys, which is fine. Colorado sort of operates on this mystery, or they like to do mysterious things. I think Caden Salter should get the start. And I made this case in a short on YouTube, and you guys could go check that out. Caden Salter is more mobile. Now, it would be nice if they used his legs correctly. I don't feel like they're using the legs to the best of their ability. But he's more mobile than both Lewis and Staub. He's more proven. And I think right now he has the highest ceiling this year. Now, I think Julian Lewis over time will be a better quarterback than Caden Salter. But right now, I don't think Julian Lewis is ready. And that's okay. He's 17 years old. He doesn't need to be ready, right? There should not be a scenario where Colorado's like, hey, save our season, you true freshmen who should be getting ready for a senior prom. That's not the position you want to be in. So I think Coach Prime's handling the quarterback situation has been a little confusing. I think last week he didn't name a starter because he wanted to cause confusion. I think this week he may not know, or he's just going to keep a secret, because both Willie Fritz and Wyoming's head coach, his name is slipping my mind right now, they both said the offense hasn't changed very much with whoever's at quarterback, right? They're not changing the play calls up that much. So there's really no point in hiding this, because it's not like, oh, with Caden Salter, they're going to run the triple option, or with Caden Salter, they're going to run the West Coast offense. And then with Ryan Staub, they're going to go power eye all game, like whatever it is, right? That's just not – it's not that. right? They've basically been doing the same thing. It's these bubble screens. They're not really pushing the ball down the field. These RPOs. It's sort of, I don't know. It's a weird thing where it's like, I don't know why Colorado is really making it difficult to know what's going to happen. There's an element of surprise that I think they like, and it wouldn't shock me if they're still trying to figure it out themselves. It honestly wouldn't. If you watch the Well Off Media videos, you'll notice that we're seeing less and less of practice clips. I think that's to sort of dissuade internet sleuths like myself and other people from sort of peeking and being like, okay, who's rocking with Jordan Seaton right now? Who's starting? And that's fine. Like, it is what it is. But it's one of those things where it's like, dude, Colorado, you need to pick a quarterback. I would pick Caden Salter. Whoever you pick is fine. But you need to pick a quarterback, stick with it, and sort of just ride it out. All this flip-flopping is part of the reason you don't have an identity, which I talked about in the first segment. Is so important because if you don't have an identity, you can't really hang your hat on something. And right now, Colorado, the only thing they can hang their hat on is that they don't have an identity. So that's not great. When we come back, we're going to talk about how Shedeur Sanders may have cost himself a golden opportunity in the NFL. This episode of Locked on Buffs is brought to you by Monarch Money. Let's talk some money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to like, subscribe, follow, all that jazz. Let's talk Shedeur Sanders to the NFL, or Shedeur Sanders in the NFL. It's been a while since I touched on the Shedeur Sanders saga, mostly because it is what it is at this point, right? He fell in the draft. I think he had a rough pre-draft process, and then I think by the time he had fallen out of the first 3 rounds, it was like, okay, now we're drafting him as a backup, and nobody wants a backup who's more famous than their star. One team that was willing to take that shot was the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens were planning to draft Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round with pick number 141, so 3 picks earlier. But before they could draft him, Shedeur Sanders said he doesn't want to be on the roster with Lamar Jackson, where he wouldn't have a chance to play anytime soon. Said, quote, Sanders knew that Jackson, a 2-time MVP and one of the top players in the league, was not going to be losing his job as Baltimore's starting quarterback in the near future. So the message was conveyed to the Ravens, that Sanders did not want to be drafted by Baltimore and preferred to end up in a place where he might have a chance to play sooner. So, and he was asked about this. He said, quote, my response is I'm focused on the now. I don't really talk about anything in the past, and whatever happened in the past, it is what it is. I'm more focused on now. I'm more focused on how this game that we just gone and had figuring out how to move forward now. So, listen, I think Shedeur's, quite frankly, the advice he was getting throughout the draft process wasn't it. I've said this before. I think Shedeur was a first-round talent, but I think he had 7th-round advice. I think his camp thought they were just going to roll into the NFL draft and do whatever they wanted. Didn't work out that way. And then I think NFL teams sort of were like, hey, like you fell. So now same thing happened with Quinn Ewers, right? He's a big name, whether people want to admit it or not. Quinn Ewers is a pretty big name. And Quinn Ewers was told the same thing, like too big of a name to hold a clipboard. So teams were just like, let him fall, right? Shedeur Sanders is too popular, too well-known to sort of be a backup. And like we could see with the way the Browns have grown in fans and grown in coverage is like people are pushing for him to start at all times. And it's somewhat of a distraction. It's to no fault of his own. But I think the advice he was getting was not great. I think it led to him falling. I think learning from Lamar Jackson, who, I mean, Lamar Jackson, granted he's not old, but he's definitely not on the younger side, right? He's 30 something, 32, 30, or he's 28. Okay, I lied. But Lamar Jackson, I mean, he's someone who Shedeur could have learned from, right? He's someone who I think faced a lot of adversity himself, a lot of criticism, and people were constantly saying he couldn't be a quarterback in the NFL. Granted, he still won the first round, but I feel like that was something he could have learned from, sort of sat as a backup, learned, absorbed, been a sponge. Now he's in Cleveland, and I don't think – and I said this even when I thought Shore was going the first round. I was like, I don't think Cleveland should be the team that he wants to go to because they just have a history of screwing up quarterback careers of quarterbacks. I mean, Johnny Manziel, granted, Johnny Manziel did that himself, Deshaun Kaiser, whoever else, like Colt McCoy. I mean, there's so many names to go down the list where it's just like, look at that one jacket where it's like just all the quarterbacks that they had that didn't work out, like Brady Quinn. Like it's who the Browns are, right? So I didn't think this was a good fit for him. It's kind of interesting to hear what teams. It's because I feel like we're starting to hear it now. Seemed like he got into a thing with the Giants. Was told the Ravens not to draft him. It's interesting to see what teams his camp wanted him to go to. I don't know if hindsight's 2020. I don't know if they got the right pick, but I found it interesting that he was like, no Baltimore for me. Now he wouldn't have started over Lamar, but he could have learned from him. And I think that could have been valuable. And you never know. Injuries can happen, whatever it is. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in to Locked On Buffs, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. And I will see you guys tomorrow.